Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. A couple of you have been commenting that my voice sounds a bit different recently. I've survived the man flu. Yes, I know, it was a bit touch and go for a moment. But I got over the fever about a week ago. Since then, I've just been putting up with this really annoying cough, which is why for the last week or so I've been sounding like I smoke a packet of 20 cigarettes a day. Which is really unfair because I used to smoke a packet of 20 cigarettes every day and then I quit. And now I feel exactly like I did when I was a smoker. Anyway, I'm sure it's not going to last much longer. But that's the reason why my voice sounds the way it does at the moment. Anyway, what's going on? Who's this? What's happening? This, in the Soviet Tier 10 technically light cruiser, but I'm not so sure about that. More on that in a moment. The Alexander Nevski. This is Wes Gamer. And there's something unusual about Wes. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers. I'll reveal it at the end of the battle. See if you can... No, don't even try. You're never going to guess. Wes is in a technical light cruiser on the Tears of the Desert map. Known affectionately by cruiser captains everywhere as the Tears of the Cruiser map. And he's just gotten spotted first by the enemy carrier. This is incredibly bad news. He's already being targeted. I guarantee you, all of those enemy battleships. Hey, there it is. You notice he didn't just continue to sail in a straight line on the same course and speed. Because if he had, well, he would probably be lacking a substantial amount of hit points by now. You never want to be the first one spotted if you're in a cruiser on any map in World of Warships, because the battleships all see you and they start licking their lips and going om nom 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 nom. And it's even worse on this map. There's a reason why they call this map the Tears of the Cruisers rather than the Tears of the Desert. And once we get a quiet moment to go into detail, I'll explain why. But for now, we've got some shooting to do. There's a Takahashi over there. One of those, I keep wanting to say new. There's nothing new about them. They're new Japanese cruiser line. They've been around for ages now. Wes initially had the high explosive loaded, in fact still does, so he missed out on the opportunity to do huge amounts of broadside damage, but as he's switching to the armour piercing, the Takahashi commits a grievous error of judgment. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You were in cover behind the island. Although, I mean, was he? I mean, he was in cover behind the island from Wes. He's not now. I don't know if he's backing out there in order to get his torpedoes away, but I guarantee it wasn't worth it. Thanks for the easy first blood award. Oh, man. But, you know, let's not be too harsh about the Takahashi. It looked like a really dumb thing to do from this angle, but there's a reason why this map is called the Tears of the Cruisers. But anyway, as Wes follows up with yet more armour piercing against the enemy Salem, another cruiser getting spanked to within an inch of its life. Oh lordy. By the way, have you seen the reload on this thing? The Salem and its big sister the Des Moines are of course the poster childs for rapid firing heavy cruisers with a sub 5 second reload on their 8-inch guns. The Nevski isn't much slower, with a base 6 second reload. The thing is, the Nevski... Oh, there are those citadels you ordered, Mr. Salem. The reason why I say, because I mean the Nevski is in the Soviet light cruiser line. But is it really a light cruiser? Because technically a light cruiser is a ship armed with 6-inch guns, 152mm, or if you're Japanese, sometimes 150mm, but, you know, in that kind of area of caliber. And a heavy cruiser is armed with 8-inch or 203mm guns or higher. But the Nevski, kind of like the premium Molotov at Tier 6, is armed with a weird Russian caliber, 180mm, so too big to be a light cruiser, but not big enough to be a heavy cruiser. I can kind of see why Wargaming put it in the light cruiser line, because 180mm high explosive, and this is the problem that the Molotov suffers as well, although since it's Tier 6 it doesn't suffer from it as much because of the nature of the battleships that the Molotov will face, but the Nevski, because it's Tier 10, unless you take the IFHE skill, the inertia fuse for high explosive shells, which increases the penetration of your high explosive shells, the Nevski's high explosive shells can't damage 32mm battleship plating. So, yeah, I can kind of see why they put it in the light cruiser line. But there are other distinctly unlight cruiser things about it, aside from the gun caliber. The range of the guns, for example. This thing shoots out to a range slightly in excess of 19 kilometres. There are there are battleships that don't have guns that can fire that far. Also, even by cruiser standards, she is very fast, with a top speed of 36 knots, more if you equip a speed flag, obviously. And that speed, and the range of these guns, and the rapid firing nature of these 180mm guns, on this map in particular, make the Nevski very, very useful. Because the reason why they call this map the Tears of the Cruisers is because cruisers traditionally, they do like to hide behind islands and use those as cover. But the islands on this map are basically nothing more than cruiser traps. They offer a false sense of security because the islands are too low to actually provide much in the way of actual cover, as the enemy sailorman found out the hard way, and as the Takahashi would have probably found out if he hadn't reversed out from behind what he thought was cover in order to get the shit citadel out of him, in order to get his torpedoes away. Trust me, it wasn't worth it. The Nevski, however, because it's got the speed and the range, doesn't need to fall into the cruiser traps and loiter in the dubious cover of the islands waiting to get citadeled by, well, basically everything. He is going to have to worry about the Minnesota here, however, he is in a very unfortunate position. Minnesota has some seriously big guns, but the Nevski does have a 50mm section of bow armour, so we might be able to... Yep, no. I don't know if he actually got citadeled from the front there. Possibly one of them was, but yeah, that hurt. Minnesota does have a 40-second reload though, so... Well, it's unlikely he's going to be able to finish off the Essex and then gun down the Minnesota before the Minnesota reloads all of its guns. So he's probably going to get spanked by the Minnesota again, but there goes the Essex. Now, reloading to the armour piercing. It's not just the Minnesota getting ready to shoot at him as well. And of course, he's not dumb enough to turn and give broadside to a Minnesota at point-blank range in order to get the 4 rear guns firing. So all he has is, well, actually, he doesn't just have the 4 guns at the front, does he? Because the Nevski has torpedoes. Something that the Minnesota completely forgot. As the Essex manages to get more torpedoes away. One of them's actually going to hit, but it's airdropped, it's not going to hurt too much. Oh shit, Z46, which means wall of skill incoming. Now would be a good time to pop hydro just in case. Any second now. There it is. And there are the torpedoes. By the way, I wasn't just guessing that the Minnesota forgot that the Nevski has torpedoes. He's actually said it there in chat. Oh, hold that course, don't oversteer. Yep, thread of the needle, good stuff. Z46 is doomed. He's trying to pop smoke, even though Wes has him radared. I mean, I'm sure the Z46 realises that radar sees through a smoke screen. It was probably just a panic button moment. But anyway, the Z46 is down, and that's, wow, 4 kills. Wes has received the spanking of a lifetime, of course, but in 10 seconds he'll be able to pop a heal and recover at least some health, probably get back up to around about 20,000 hit points. But the important thing is, they're all dead and he isn't. Looking at what's left on the enemy team, however. Okay, there's the enemy submarine over there. That's, well, there's not a lot he can do about that from here. There are also 2 destroyers, and they're La Pampas, and those things are bloody dangerous. Under most circumstances. Again, more on that in a moment. And there are also 2 battleships. Oh shit, and they see you. And he's managed to get the heal away, but he's still perilously low on health. And he is in a light cruiser. He very wisely decides that chasing after those 2 buggers when he doesn't know where the 2 La Pampas are is a very, very dangerous idea in a light cruiser on low health like this. So instead, and the U-4501 is busy with the Libertad and in any case is too far away to interfere with his plans. Unfortunately, they have just lost the Hanover. So they're now even on kills, but the enemy team have just flipped the cap circle at Charlie, which means they are now in possession of 2 of the caps and Wes's team only have 1. But the central cap at Bravo is right here. And rather than threading his way through the islands, potentially running into a whole bunch of La Pampa torpedoes, in an attempt to take down a couple of tier 10 battleships in a light cruiser, Wes very wisely decides It's a much, much better idea to flip this central cap, because anything can and probably will go wrong, and you can't rely on your points advantage when you're one cap behind and on equal numbers of kills. And this is actually great news, because he's able to continue shooting at the Preußen over there without getting detected. No idea what those two enemy destroyers, the Lepampas, are doing, but whatever it is, they're taking their sweet time doing it. There's the cap, which they badly needed, because, I mean, it looks like his team are 200 points ahead, but guess what? Replay bug, they're actually 200 points behind. So that extra cap is going to come in really handy, as long as nobody else dies. And the Preußen sinks the carrier. So they're now 300 points behind. But thanks to some extremely careful positioning, especially on this map, he has managed to remain undetected and keep up this withering rain of high explosive fire against the Preußen. Now his shells aren't doing a huge amount of damage, but he is setting a lot of fires. And there's the Confederate, and there's the high caliber, and there's the kill, and the Kraken Unleashed. They're still behind, but now there's less than a 200 point difference. And looking at the positioning of the various different ships, unless those Lepampas are doing something that we're unaware of, and honestly if they were, Wes would have been spotted, it's extremely unlikely that the enemy team are going to be able to take this central cap without killing everything first in order to get there. And one of the Lepampas has been spotted. Now don't get me wrong, the Lepampa is a very, very dangerous destroyer. But almost everything that makes the Lepampa good relies on it not being spotted. Especially if you're running the special Pan-American Commander. If the Lepampa gets spotted, it basically becomes a distinctly mediocre destroyer. It becomes slow. Everything that's good about it stops being good until it can go undetected again. So great work there from the Khabarovsk. Honestly, have you seen the detection range of the Khabarovsk? It's like light cruiser levels of stealth. How the hell a Lepampa managed to get surprised and spotted by a Khabarovsk, I have no idea. But he did. And whatever he was up to, well, the Khabarovsk sorted that out. Unfortunately, the one mistake so far in this game, at least, that Wes has made, was popping his radar trying to reveal that Lepampa when it was actually outside of radar range. But other than that, he basically hasn't put a foot wrong. Team are only behind 100 points now. 7 minutes remaining. They could, kind of, arguably, maybe, take the points and run out the clock. But that would involve abandoning this central cap, at which point they wouldn't be able to win on points. So they kind of have to fight for it. Oh, this could hurt. Oh, that did hurt. That's the Patrie, of course. It's the Tier 11 French super battleship. Yeah. That's a very, very dangerous ship if you're in, well, not just a light cruiser, but a cruiser of any description. Oh, here it comes again. And he's out of heals, but he's got him. There's kill number 6. Oh. Oh. Well, whatever. Totally worth it. It was a points exchange in favour of Wes's team. They're less than 100 points behind. The kills are even. They still have a 1 cap advantage, even though the enemy U-4501 is momentarily contesting the central cap at Bravo. The Khabarovsk is obviously spotted. I mean, the Khabarovsk is spotted most of the time because its stealth is absolutely terrible. But I'll guarantee you, the Lepampa that launched those torpedoes isn't inside that smoke screen anymore. So that's really, really bad news. They're now down to a single Libertad and a U-4501 against a U-4501 and a pair of Lepampas. And their spotting opportunities on the Pampas are distinctly limited now, without any cruisers or destroyers of their own, which is extremely dangerous news for anybody in a battleship like the Libertad. I mean, the Libertad isn't exactly defenseless against destroyers. It has incredibly strong secondaries, but in order to fire those secondaries at a target, it first has to spot them. And as we mentioned, Their spotting opportunities are now distinctly limited now that they no longer have any cruisers or destroyers of their own. So this game is basically going to be won or lost by whatever those two enemy destroyers do. Those 2 kills on Wes in the Nevski and the Khabarovsk have given the team the points advantage again, despite the cap advantage that Wes's team still continue to hold. The enemy team are at 931 points. They are going to win on points in the time remaining unless Wes's team can sink something. And right now, the smart money is looking like that U4501. Still nobody contesting that central cap. I don't know what those 2 Lepampas are doing. The friendly sub can only really outspot the Lepampas when it's on the surface, which obviously makes it vulnerable. And the Libertad is never going to outspot a destroyer under any circumstances. Oh, big depth charge hit there on the enemy 4501, but it wasn't enough to sink him. And if he stays on, yep, he's managed to go undetected, and he's gotten some torpedoes away. Didn't appear to do a huge amount of damage to the Libertad. I don't know if that was damage saturation on the bow section. I think I figured out what the 2 enemy Lepampas are doing. They're looking at the fact that they're at 964 points and about 30 seconds away from winning, even with just the 1 cap circle, and they're thinking, yeah, fine, we'll take it. Which isn't a terrible idea. It's an idea that does, of course, depend on the enemy U4501 surviving and not getting sunk by the Libertad. Oh, who's ahead on points now? Turn around and run, boys. I mean, I don't know what's going on the Libertad. Possibly he's spotted and he's, well, manoeuvring to avoid getting torpedoes. There they go. One of the Lepampas headed around to the north. In fact, he did get spotted momentarily by the U4501. He's now in that central cap, but he's done it too little and too late. If they don't sink something in the next 10 seconds, they're going to lose on points. And, oh, seriously, 999 points? Fuck off, game. There it is. Great work there from the Libertad player, clutching the win there when it was most important. He'd actually been getting stalked by that submarine, probably for the last 7 or 8 minutes. So not only did he survive, he actually managed to kill him. So great job there. And of course, great job also to Wes in the Alexander Nevsky. 6 kills, Kraken Unleashed, First Blood, High Caliber and Confederate, as well as all of the Citadels. And I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there was something unusual, special about Wes. I have actually featured him twice before, although they were in World of Tanks videos, once in the Char B1 and once in the T-62A. The thing that makes Wes different, he's 12 years old. He had to send this replay in using his dad's email address. You just watched a 12-year-old dismantle an enemy team one by one. If he can do it, what's our excuse? Anyway, congratulations, Wes. Great result. Good to see. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.